Well, since I got pretty good feedback from my video last week, I thought I would give you a quick update again on what's going on in the market and news and things like that. Last week when I did the video, well, it's Monday about 9 a.m., March the 30th. And so last week when we talked, the market was down. The U.S. large stock market was down about 35% from its all-time high. Currently, it's somewhere around 27%. In fact, just after that video last week, we sat down and went over what the governor had asked for Tennessee at least through April 6th and decided we would change all meetings to either video chats or phone calls, whether that's a review or an appointment or whatever. And so that's actually been pretty productive. We've been able to do what we needed to in these video chats. We can get on camera together, but I can also share my screen if I'm needing to illustrate something. So that's making the best. And of course, I'm working in my office, and some of the staff is working from home or from here as needed. Last week, we had unemployment claims hit a record 3.2 million. On that day that was announced, the market went up in value, probably because it wasn't a huge surprise, but also because they were working on a stimulus package, which ended up being around $2.2 trillion that's going to be sent out in various forms. I'll give you maybe two or three highlights of that bill, and then as the many pages get read, if it makes sense, I may dive into a little further. But some things, the tax filing date / payment is July 15th instead of April 15th. So if you wanted to delay it, you could. That also applies to IRA contributions. So if you wanted to make a contribution for 2019, you can do it all the way up to July of this year before you file. If you're 70 and above, it's probably on your radar for required minimum distributions. Those have been suspended for this year, and so you won't have to take those. We typically send out letters in November saying, hey, here's what we plan on sending. We'll likely do the same thing. We'll send letters in November, but we'll say you don't need to send anything. You don't need a required minimum distribution. So unless you want that, that won't be sent. And then, of course, you probably heard about getting a check in the mail, depending on what your adjusted gross income is for your taxes. If you're married filing jointly, 150,000 or less in a year, you should receive about 1,200 each. And then if you have kids, 500 each child. But I do think there's a max per family that I read. Might be 3,400. So that may or may not. We're still fleshing through that. And then last week I gave you some strategies of where I was trying to, I guess, the buy more strategy, whereas the market goes down, I was trying to buy more. I'm not buying different holdings or anything different than what we're all doing together. And so I was simply trying to show that some areas where I was trying to either max out Roth or 401k or do a Roth conversion, but what I'm invested in is the same as you guys, and nothing different going on there. It trades when I trade other accounts. As I did some math last night, we should, right now, we're on path that we're doubling in deaths of the coronavirus every 3 days. And so as they're saying, this may hit 100 to 200,000 deaths before it kind of peaks and starts to slow down. As best I look at that, that's about 2.5 to 3 weeks of time, believe it or not, from now. And so I say all that to say we may have some more bad news before we have good news. And so April will be a sad month, but at the same time, as we try to social distance and do what the governor's asked us to do, and really just try to do our part for those first responders that are out there treating the medically sick, so that we don't have all of it happen at once, is what I understand the reason for all that. But as I've talked to people, I'm energized because of all the clients I've talked to. Some are looking for how do I invest, and some of them are anxious naturally because this is what you've been saving for a long, long time. I haven't had a single client that has decided to change their plan and say get out or sell everything or anything like that. And so that energizes me because I know long term that is what's best for you uh, and for all of us. Because if it was a good plan a month ago, it's still a good plan. Of course, we're all at different risk levels and risk tolerances, and then the accounts are behaving in that way. But I'm just proud of y'all for listening and not going with the crowd or emotions or things like that. And so um, we will get through this, and it's going to be tough, and it may be a while, but it will turn. I was thinking when I was thinking about that, I thought about this little graph here where kind of shows the market over time, and there's little bullet points where it talks about Black Monday or Gulf War, .com, Iraq invaded, and so it kind of tells you what the market does at different times. I imagine that there will be one uh, as they update that graph that will talk about the coronavirus of 2020. But what is not charted yet, and what I really think is as this too will pass, what's 2021 going to look like, or 2022, or as we kind of create a new path forward and work together as a country. As a piece of good news, I saw a good video that I'm gonna butcher his name, but the guy from The Office, Jim Krasinski or something like that, did a little segment called SGN, uh, and it was some good news, and it was funny, but then also uplifting. So if you get a chance, that might be something fun to go watch. Uh, God bless. I'll be in touch.